Auction version 4, the latest event management software tool from Auction Systems. In this video, in the Data Exchange series, I will show you how to import data into an auction project. In Data Exchange Import Data, you can import items and names into an auction project from a spreadsheet. Import data is a standard feature and is available in V4 Single User, Network, and Cloud editions. Premium features are not required for a standard import. Import data does not allow the importation of transactions such as item purchases, winning bids, and payments. Transactions can only be imported using the e-bidding import that is covered in another series of tutorials. The e-bidding import button can only be enabled if premium features are purchased. To get to the standard import data area on the main home task ribbon, click Data Exchange and choose Import Data. If you have a network license for auction software or are using cloud as a standalone application, you will need exclusive access to import a lot of data at once. On the Import Data task ribbon, if you're not in exclusive access, click the Shared Access button and switch to exclusive. Next, you must select the import file. The import file can be an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file. If you've already copied the file, click Paste File or browse to the location of the spreadsheet to select it. If the file is an Excel spreadsheet, it may have more than one worksheet. You can select the correct worksheet from this pull-down. If you have already mapped a similar spreadsheet with the same columns and saved it as a custom preset, you will see the custom preset here. If you do not have a custom import preset, click Configure Names and Items Import so you can map the import. Next, click this header button to tell Auction whether the first row of the spreadsheet contains headers or titles for the columns or not. And you must also tell Auction how you want to handle matches. What this means is that if you already have the exact same name or item in the auction project data, what do you want Auction to do if the spreadsheet has a match for that name or item? The fields for a name that constitute a match are first name, last name, additional first name, additional last name, and company name. If the incoming spreadsheet has an exact match in those fields to a name that is already in the project data, what do you want to have happen in the import? For items, the fields that must match exactly are item type and item number. Join 1 means that if you have an exact match to a name or an item, overwrite any of the secondary fields like address or phone number for names or minimum bid and item value for items with the information in the incoming spreadsheet. Join 2 means don't overwrite existing secondary fields in the data. Only overwrite a secondary field if that field is blank in the data that's already in auction. Join 1 and Join 2 are the most common choices. But you also have the ability to replace all these secondary fields with the incoming record. This means that the fields that have been mapped in the spreadsheet will overwrite those fields in the data that exist already. So when a match is found, if a field is blank in the spreadsheet, it will be blank after the import in the project, even if before the import it was not blank. Retain existing, ignore incoming record is just the opposite. For any matches it finds, the secondary fields for the spreadsheet will be ignored in the import and will be exactly the same as they were in the project before the import. And lastly, you have a choice to ignore matches and always make a new record for any matches. In version 4, what's really helpful about this choice is that while after the import you may have a duplicate name or an item, in data entry you can join the duplicate records, picking and choosing what secondary fields you want to keep from each record. Before mapping fields, if your project has more than one event, such as an online or mobile bidding event, or if you have a multi-event license for auction, you must select the event. Most organizations have only one event, and it will be automatically filled in. Then it's time to map the fields in auction to the columns of the spreadsheet. On the top left is a bunch of name fields that can be imported. On the right are some item fields. On the bottom is the spreadsheet you selected for import. If the spreadsheet has column headers and you indicated that, the headers will appear in the second row and blank spaces will appear above the column headers. To map a field to a column, click on the field name and drag it to the blank space in the top of the column that contains the information that should be imported into that field. The column headers do not need to be named exactly the same as the fields in auction. but the cells in the column must contain the information that needs to populate that auction field for any record. You do not need to map every field, and in fact your spreadsheet may not contain a column of data for many of the fields. But if this is a names import, you do need to at least map last name or company name to successfully import the entire row. And if it's an item import, you must at least map the short description or catalog title and import all the items as pending. Or if your spreadsheet actually has an item type in it, such as silent or live, you may map item type and item number. But in case an item does not have a number, you must tell where to start numbering items that do not have an item number. If you're importing names, indicate whether the names should be marked as invitees, donors, or volunteers, and you can indicate more than one choice. If you do indicate more than one choice, all the names in the import will be marked as all the choices you selected. If you wish, you can assign bid numbers to the names as you import. Also, if you're importing addresses along with names, if there is no city or state listed for a name in the spreadsheet, if you have a default city and state in your project, you can choose to fill in the default city and state for those records as part of the import. Or you can choose to leave the city and state blank if the spreadsheet is blank in those cells. Once the spreadsheet is mapped, if you want to do another import later with the exact same layout of columns, you can save the import map as a custom setting. Then you can choose that preset and will not have to map again in a later import. To complete the import, press Import Now. Auction will do two things. It will make an auto backup of your complete project before the import, and then it will do the import. When the import is complete, you'll be shown a report screen of the import results. Look this over to see if the records imported. The lines in the report refer to rows in the spreadsheet. Sometimes a row is blank in a critical cell, so that row did not import. The report will tell you that. Check the spreadsheet to determine what the problem is. If there are no errors, always go to data entry for names, items, or both, depending on the import, and look over the additions. If the report has lots of errors that are important, or if the items or names do not look like what you anticipated, before continuing with any further data entry or deleting anything, you may want to restore your project to the way it was right before the import. If you do need to roll back the project to before the import so you can try again, go to Home and choose Projects. Then click Restore Backup. Use the file tree in the middle here to open the Project Backup folder and find the Auto Backup folder for your project. When you click on the correct Auto Backup folder, it will populate this list on the right with all the auto backups created by auction for that project. The pre-import auto backup should be right up near the top. Choose it and then restore the project. If you're a network user and will try to do the import again, click Restore Exclusive. If you're not ready to import again and need to have shared access, click Restore Shared. Your project will be restored to its condition from before the import no matter which restore you choose. Thank you for joining us.